Hello everyone, welcome to week 3 in Comparative Models in Policy. Today we are going to discuss and learn on the operational police support services of the Interpol. Operational police support services of the Interpol. So that is our topic for today. Operational police support services. So this means making available Interpol's know-how, expertise, and best practices to all authorities, services, and organizations worldwide whose mission is to prevent, detect, and suppress crime. Through the extension of such services, Interpol helps enhance the role of the national central bureaus and regional offices, and thus increases Interpol's responsiveness to their needs. This involves the development of emergency support and operational activities based on the organization's priority crime areas like terrorism and public safety, drugs and organized crime, fugitives, human trafficking, and financial and high technology crime. Support services also include the collection, analysis, and evaluation of information which Interpol's headquarters receive from its member countries. On request, Interpol further extends support to its member countries by sending police officers with special law enforcement expertise to investigation sites. For example, after various terrorist attacks worldwide, Interpol assisted national law enforcement entities by facilitating on-site the exchange of information regarding individuals and groups alleged to have been involved in the attacks. So we have here the Interpol's broad range of support services. First, we have the Interpol's Command and Coordination Center. This Interpol's Command and Coordination Center operates around the clock 24, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in each of Interpol's 4 official languages like English, French, Spanish, and Arabic. The Command and Coordination Center serves as the first point of contact for any member country faced with a crisis or terrorist situation. The center's staff monitors Interpol messages exchanged between member countries and ensures that the full resources of the organization are ready and available whenever and wherever they might be needed. For instance, if a terrorist attack or natural disaster occurs, the Command and Coordination Center mobilizes to offer and coordinate the organization's response. All messages and requests for information and assistance from the affected member countries are treated with the highest priority. Then we have the next support service of the Interpol. We have the Incident Response Team. In the aftermath of a terrorist act or other critical incident, the affected member country or countries often request Interpol's support in the form of an incident response team. The incident response team consists of on-site specialized personnel who are able to provide investigative and analytical support directly from the incident location. As a result of the circumstantial elements, Interpol evaluates the situation and assists member countries in determining the police requirements needed to further provide specific support, expertise, and information. Interpol also deploys police officers with special law enforcement expertise to the area where the specific incident has occurred and provides not only specialized police officers but also forensic experts and criminal analysts as well. While the investigation of terrorist act is handled by the respective law enforcement agency in the concerned country, many investigative leads and evidence span the globe, thus adding an international dimension to the investigation. Through proactive support and assistance of its member countries, Interpol is able to coordinate information and resources to assist in these complex investigations, which can result in the subsequent dismantling of terrorist groups and organizations, thus preventing them from carrying out further attacks. Next, support service of the Interpol, we have the Interpol network of experts. In collaboration with Interpol member countries, the Interpol Command and Coordination Center is in the process of establishing a crisis support strategy to coordinate multidisciplinary international police assistance through the implementation of a network of Interpol experts in areas such as counterterrorism, criminal intelligence analysis, forensics, case management, specialized crime investigations, fugitive tracing, and linguistic capabilities. Together with a menu of service options, a centralized contact database for these experts will be maintained. The objectives of this strategy, once completed, will be to enable, at the request of a member country, the deployment of a team of said experts upon short notice to any location in the world where there is appropriate need, with the team maintaining direct links to the command and coordination center at all times. Then we have the Interpol Major Event Support Teams. Interpol implemented a strategy to support countries which are organizing international major events. An important objectives of this strategy is to help member countries plan for prevention of attacks or disruptive action during major events, and to subsequently manage the consequences of such incident. This includes making available relevant Interpol services such as the I-24-7, Interpol databases and threat assessments in support of the organizing country. Interpol has established a mechanism for regular global sharing of good practices in securing international major events, where one member country organizing an event can learn from other countries which recently hosted similar events. Let's proceed to Interpol Vulnerable Targets Referral Center. So Interpol, together with the United Nations Department of Safety and Security and the United Nations Interregional Criminal Justice Research Institute are the leading entities of the UN Counterterrorism Implementation Task Force Working Group on Protecting Vulnerable Targets. Their aim is to establish appropriate mechanisms to facilitate both the sharing of existing best practices and the development of further best practices to protect vulnerable targets. In order to achieve this, Interpol is currently in the process of creating a vulnerable targets referral center. This will act as an intermediary facilitating the exchange of information in the area of vulnerable target protection. The main objective of the center is to identify responsible units and relevant experts in countries for vulnerable target protection strategies have already been developed and have this contact information available in order to bring those with relevant expertise together with those who are in need of such information. Then we have the next support service of the Interpol, and this is the Interpol Notices System. So, an Interpol notice or international notice is issued by Interpol to share information between its members. Based on requests from national central bureaus, the General Secretariat produces notices in all of the organization's official languages. We have Arabic, English, French, and Spanish. In addition, notices are used by the International Criminal Tribunals, the International Criminal Court to seek persons wanted to genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. There are 8 types of notices, 7 of which are colored-coded by their function. Then we have red, blue, green, yellow, black, orange, and purple. The best known notice is the red notice, which is the closest instrument to an international arrest warrant. Its issues today. An 8th special notice is issued at the request of the United Nations Security Council. So we have here the notices created the Interpol notices system. We have the red notice. This is used to seek the location, arrest of a person wanted by a judicial jurisdiction or an international tribunal with a view to his or her extradition. So, halimbawa, dito sa Pilipinas ay mayroong fugitive or takas, no, takas na kriminal galing sa Hong Kong, then this will be known through the red notice since member naman sila ng Interpol. So, ang gagawin, through the red notice, the order for the extradition of the fugitive who went there in Hong Kong will be maibalik siya dito sa Pilipinas. That is extradition. And then, blue notice. This is used to locate, identify, or obtain information on a person of interest in a criminal investigation. Then we have green notice. used to warn about a person's criminal activities if that person is considered to be a possible threat to public safety. Then we have yellow notice. This is to locate a missing person or to identify a person unable to identify himself or herself. Then black notice. This is to seek information on unidentified bodies. Then we have orange notice. This is used to warn of an event, a person, an object, or a process representing an imminent threat in danger to persons or property. Then you have the purple notice. This provide information on modus operandi or methods of operation, procedures, objects, devices, or hiding places used by criminals. So you have there the images of the 8 Interpol notices. Then we go to the next support units of Interpol. We have Interpol, United Nations Security Council Special Notice. Ito po yung ginagamit to inform Interpol's members that an individual or entity is subject to UN sanctions. So I will stand corrected. This is an special notice of the Interpol. Then we will proceed to the next support unit of the Interpol. We have the Fusion Task Force. So in order to assist member countries in terrorism-related investigations at the international level, Interpol created the Fusion Task Force. This was established in September 2002, and it has evolved into a significant, vital, specialized, and multidisciplinary entity for assisting member countries in their terrorism-related investigations. The primary objective of the Fusion Task Force is to identify members of criminal groups involved in international terrorist activity through the establishment of a network of law enforcement contact officers. The task force has put into place regionally focused projects which are designated to identify active terrorist groups in their membership in specific regions. The task force also solicits, collects, and shares information and intelligence, and it provides analytical support and enhances the capacity of member countries to address the threats of terrorism and organized crime. The task force maintains a dedicated global database of information on terrorist groups, organizations, and individuals. Then we have the last support unit of Interpol. We have the Criminal Analysis Unit. So Interpol's Criminal Analysis Unit contributes to investigations by assisting officers working at the General Secretariat and in member countries by conducting research and analysis of crime trends. This service includes the collection, analysis, evaluation, exchange, and storage of information which Interpol's headquarters receives from its member countries. In providing this service, Interpol's goal is not only to inform its member countries of new developments and the context of criminal activities, but also it provides national law enforcement authorities with additional information which might be helpful to the progress of an ongoing investigation or contribute to the initiation of a new one. So let us proceed to training and development. Training and development plays a key role in Interpol's overall mission to promote international police cooperation. The aim is to help officials in Interpol's uh, now 194 member. Okay, so this is an old data. Please correct it. Meron na pong 194 member ang Interpol. So the aim is to help officials in Interpol's 194 member countries to improve their operational effectiveness, enhance their skills, and build their capacity to address the increasingly globalized and sophisticated nature of criminality today. Let us move on to the role of Interpol in crime control. The role of the international police in the control of the impact of globalization in policing and human rights violations is tremendous, being uniquely positioned to contribute substantially to the success of all law enforcement efforts aimed at combating global crimes, human rights violations, and terrorism. So let us first have the role of Interpol on drug control. The Criminal Organizations and Drug Subdirectorate is located within the Specialized Crime Directorate of the Interpol General Secretariat. It is the central repository of professional and technical expertise in drug within the Interpol framework. Essentially, it acts as a clearinghouse for the collation, analysis, and dissemination of drug-related information. It monitors also the drug situation on global scale, coordinates international investigations, and maintains liaison with the United Nations, its specialized agencies, and other international and regional organizations involved in drug control activities. One of its important functions is to serve as a main source of professional and technical advice on narcotic matters to Interpol bodies such as General Assembly, Executive Committee, and National Central Bureaus. The mission of the Criminal Organizations and Drug Subdirectorate is to enhance cooperation among member countries and to stimulate the exchange of information between all national and international enforcement bodies concerned with countering the illicit production, traffic, and use of narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances. Drawing upon the wide investigative and analytical experience in multinational staff, the subdirectorate serves member states in the areas of una, information collection, responding to international drug investigation inquiries, and collection and analysis of data obtained, from member states for strategic and tactical intelligence reports and the dissemination of these reports to concerned member states. Then we have identification of international drug trafficking organizations, coordination of international drug investigations where at least two member states are involved. So, Subdirectorate of the Interpol also hold working meetings involving two or more states for the criminal organizations, and drug subdirectorate has identified common links in cases being investigated in those member countries in order to exchange information and establish future strategies. And then organizing either regional or worldwide meetings on specific drug topics on an annual or ad hoc basis. The aims of such meetings include assessing the extent of the particular drug problem, the exchange of information on the latest methods of investigative techniques, and to further strengthen cooperation within the law enforcement communities. Then, uh, one concern of the subdirectorate of the Interpol is the community. Having a membership of countries places Interpol in a unique situation of knowing what is going on around the world in relation to drug trafficking. It offers the possibility of making links between drug cases being conducted by national administrations which would otherwise seem unrelated. When it is clearly established that there is a good potential for developing a substantial case, it is given an operational name. As the case is developed, a working meeting of the concerned countries can be organized to bring together all of the case officers concerned to discuss all aspects of the case and to devise a future strategy. The case officers bring with them information such as fingerprints, photographs, identify documents, telephone numbers and addresses, criminal histories, and any other information related to the case in which they are involved. Then we have on children and human trafficking. Trafficking is a subject that divides those who come into contact with it. Much of the concern expressed about its causes and consequences has been emotional. For example, dwelling on the plight of women and children trafficked or sold into prostitution in sweatshop work. The role of the criminal organizations has been highlighted in a human trade that some put on a par with drugs and arms smuggling in its profitability and perniciousness. Governments have announced measures to control what they deem to be an assault on their borders. The main aim of Interpol is to promote the widest possible mutual assistance between all criminal police authorities. It provides a structured platform for raising awareness, building competence, and identify best practices within law enforcement worldwide. It is a forum for exchanging information on current trends and investigations. Trafficking in human beings is considered one of the top priorities at Interpol, and only by ascertaining the true character of trafficking can we hope to adopt appropriate measures against it. Different definitions and expressions are used to describe smuggling of migrants and trafficking in human beings. Uh, we have definitions that was made in the protocols supplementing the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime. So they refer no on the protocol supplementing the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime. So we have here uh, definitions that describe smuggling and trafficking of human beings. Smuggling of migrants. It shall mean the procurement in order to obtain, directly or indirectly, a financial or other material benefit of the illegal entry of a person into a state party of which the person is not a national or permanent resident. Then we have trafficking in persons. It shall mean the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of persons by means of the threat or use of force or other forms of coercion, abduction, fraud, deception, abuse of power, or position of vulnerability, or the giving or receiving of payments or benefits to achieve the consent of a person having control over another person. This is for the purpose of exploitation. So, yung exploitation include prostitution of others or other forms of sexual exploitation, forced labor or services, slavery or practices similar to slavery, servitude or the removal of organs. So meron tayong bago, di ba? I have said a mouthful kasi about trafficking in persons in our previous lesson, and the focus of our explanation there for trafficking in person is bakit sila nag bumibili ng tao, no? Or bakit nila ipinagbibili? Bibili sila tapos ipinagbibili para po sa mga ah, paggamit in sexual activity or forced labor or services, slavery, and servitude, and yung removal of organs. Diba? Pwedeng kunin nila yung organ, tapos gamitin or i-sell again. Kasi, di ba, mayroon tayong mga uh, organ transplant. Then, on environmental crime. So, environmental crime is also one of the concern of the Interpol. So, the rule on environmental crime. Environmental crime is a serious and growing international problem, with criminals violating national and international laws put in place to protect the environment. These criminals are polluting the air, water, and land. They are pushing commercially valuable wildlife species closer to extinction, and they are significantly impacting the biological integrity of the planet. Across the world, environmental crime takes on a number of forms, which include poaching, trafficking in ozone depleting substances, trafficking and use of illegal pesticides, ayan, illegal diversion of rivers, trafficking in endangered species, and illegal dumping of hazardous waste onto land or in water. So, uh, one time, naging dumping area tayo ng hazardous waste ng mga taga-ibang bansa, di ba? Across the world, environmental crime takes on a number of forms. Okay, which we already discussed a while ago. So, environmental criminals, including those associated with organized crime, regularly cause permanent and extensive damage to ecosystems, which may result in serious human health problems. The incentives to carry out environmental crimes are financial, coupled with a perception on the part of criminals that they are unlikely to be caught and face severe penalties. So, examples of environmental crimes which have become more common and lucrative are the trade of collectible species, illegal disposal of waste in an effort to avoid legitimate disposal cost. So, ayaw nilang magbayad ng disposal cost legally. So, they just dump it everywhere. So, this results in an unfair competitive advantage for the criminals over legitimate, law-abiding businesses. Okay, let us move on to Interpol's contribution to combating information technology crime, okay, cybercrime. Interpol has actively been involved for a number of years in combating information technology crime. Rather than reinventing the wheel, the Interpol General Secretariat has harnessed the expertise of its members in the field of information technology crime through the vehicle of a working party or a group of experts. In this instance, the working party consists of the heads or experienced members of national computer crime units. These working parties have been designed to reflect regional expertise and exist in Europe, Asia, America, and in Africa. All working parties are in different stages of development. It should be noted that the work done by the working parties is not Interpol's only contribution to combating information technology crime, but it certainly represents the most noteworthy contribution. Then we have the Interpol's criminal intelligence analysis. Uh, Criminal intelligence analysis, sometimes called crime analysis. This has been recognized by law enforcement as a useful support tool for over 25 years and is successfully used within the international community. Within the last decade, the role and position of criminal intelligence analysis in the global law enforcement community has fundamentally changed. Whereas previously, there were a few key countries acting as forerunners and promoters of the discipline. More and more countries have implemented analytical techniques within their police forces. International organizations such as Interpol, Europol, and the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia all have criminal intelligence analysts among their personnel. The techniques are also widely used within private sector organizations. So, the definition and nature of criminal intelligence analysis. This is the identification of and provision of insight into the relationship between crime data and other potentially relevant data with a view to police and judicial practice. The purpose, the central task of analysis is to help officials, law enforcers, policymakers, and decision makers deal more effectively with uncertainty, to provide timely warning of threats, and to support operational activity by analyzing crime. We have divisions of criminal intelligence analysis. First is the operational analysis, which aims to achieve a specific law enforcement outcome. This might be arrest, seizure or forfeiture of assets, or money gained from criminal activities, or the disruption of a criminal group. Operational analysis usually has a more immediate benefit. And then strategic analysis, this is intended to inform higher level decision making, and the benefits are realized over the longer term. It is usually aimed at managers and policymakers rather than individual investigators. The intention is to provide early warning of threats and to support senior decision makers in setting priorities, to prepare their organizations to be able to deal with emerging criminal issues. This might mean allocating resources to different areas of crime, increasing training and a crime fighting technique, or taking steps to close a loophole in a process. Both disciplines make use of a range of analytical techniques, and analysts need to have a range of skills and attributes. Then let us move on to Interpol's position on terrorism. So, terrorism is one of the transnational crime, no? That is already uh, happening worldwide. Interpol is mandated to promote police cooperation in all cases of international crime, except those of a political, military, religious, or racial character. Although terrorists try to justify their acts upon ideological, political, or religious grounds, Interpol has the authority to address all criminal activity regardless of motivation. Terrorist acts that are criminal in nature constitute a serious threat to individuals' lives or freedom. So, what Interpol is doing to combat terrorism? We have twofold role of Interpol regarding terrorism: to prevent acts of international terrorism and to ensure the perpetrators are brought to justice. So, Interpol's fight against international terrorism. Interpol's involvement in the fight against international terrorism materialized during the 54th General Assembly in Washington in 1985 with the creation of a specialized group with the then Police Division to coordinate and enhance cooperation in combating international terrorism. The widest possible cooperation and exchange of information is encouraged, and the Public Safety and Terrorism Subdirectorate makes maximum use of Interpol's communication network and central record capability to ensure that all information it receives is treated to maximize subsequent analysis or responses to queries from member countries. How can Interpol prevent terrorism? Okay, Interpol is committed to detecting and preventing acts of terrorism. It does this by exchanging information with its 194 member countries through its secure messaging system or by convening experts to address the subject. Interpol collects, stores, analyzes, and disseminates intelligence about suspect individuals and groups in their activities. This data is provided by its member countries and public sources of information that it also monitors. All terrorist-related information has to be shared in a systematic, timely, and accurate manner. The veracity and timeliness of the information is often directly proportional to its usefulness to the specialized officers within Interpol's public safety and terrorism branch who are tasked with assessing the threat and issuing alerts and warnings. To help member countries report on suspect individuals, Interpol has issued a number of practical guidelines on the type of information needed. This includes information about suspect individuals in groups, modus operandi or methods of operation, evidence from scenes of the crime in the use of new technologies by terrorist groups. They should also report on other crimes which may be linked to terrorism, such as seizures of nuclear material, weapons trafficking, money laundering, and falsified travel and other identity documents. Apart from its vital intelligence work, Interpol has also urged its member countries to intervene at the national level by monitoring suspicious financial transactions linked to terrorist activities in order to freeze their assets and so disrupt the funding of terrorism. How Interpol can help after a terrorist act has been committed? In the immediate aftermath of a terrorist act, member countries are required to send Interpol full particulars concerning the nature of the incident. Next, they should report to Interpol on all the investigative developments. This should include details of any individuals arrested or charged in connection with a terrorist incident or suspected as connected with the terrorist incident and information concerning organizations on whose behalf the act was conducted. Once in receipt of particulars concerning suspects, Interpol can instantly issue international notices for fugitive terrorists whose arrest is sought by member countries. Interpol can also offer many other backup services, such as Disaster Victim Identification Unit with its wide network of international experts and laboratories, computerized fingerprints capability for identifying suspects, forthcoming international database of counterfeit, forged and stolen identity documents, money laundering expertise, analytical capability which is uniquely placed to find criminal activity connections from a global perspective. So that ends our slide. I just hope you have learned a lot. So we can see the very broad rule of the Interpol, no? Through their support units and through their operational units. So for your activities, I gave you AC types, no? Your answer to these AC type questions will be based from our discussion today and of course from your thorough reading of your lesson 3 or week 3. You may also refer to the suggested readings given in your module for you to have additional input. So thank you and please join me again next meeting.